Yeah, it was super hard. It was all about paddling today, no recovery. And Martin today, he found better legs, and I felt that I could push a lot and that he could follow, so it was nice. He could also do his part of the work, so I knew that it was a good time, but don't know if it will be enough. But yeah, I'm happy with the feeling. We are back in the game, I think, and yeah, it's nice for the next days.
The last morning in Mirandal Wine Estate provided a final opportunity to appreciate the beauty of the farm and its surrounds. For the amateur teams, it would be a slower morning as they set out after the UCI men's and women's teams. But the elite squads had no lie-in. They were up before the sun and preparing for a second time trial in 3 days and another early start after a massive day on stage 1 just 24 hours before.
There they go, ladies and gentlemen.
The first marathon day was a brutal one. Stage 1 always is, but relatively benign terrain in metres of elevation gain at least meant that the early kilometres were raced even more aggressively than ever. This resulted in crashes and punctures, plus generally stressful big group riding. The large peloton of favourites and would-be contenders only thinned on the climb to the King of the Mountains hotspot, where William Vittoria, Scott SRAM and Obeah Elliott Speed Company summited with a small advantage. Later, Imbuko Kemchamp and Tuparo Singer bridged across, but then Luca Brido and Simone Avendetto launched a stinging attack. Even Nino Schurter and Filippo Colombo were distanced, but Scott SRAM fought hard to keep the men in yellow in their sights. Over the top of the final climb, a risky descent by Schurter and Colombo brought them back into contention for stage victory. The Swiss combination then counterpunched and snapped the elastic to the Italians to win the stage and seize the yellow jerseys from William Vittoria. Lucas Baum and Gaio Gega were third. Defending champion Matt Beers and his outright Toyota Songo teammate Keegan Swenson ceded 5 minutes and 14 seconds to the day's winners and new race leaders. This meant that Schurter and Colombo took an 11-second lead into stage 2. Baum and Egger were at 3 minutes and 14, Beers and Swenson at 7 minutes and 27 in 8th. The UCI women's race was just as chaotic in the early phases. There were 3 crashes. Hayley Preen got a piece of wire wrapped in her cassette, plus a puncture for Titan Racing Essie Honeycomb and Buff Megamo. A headwind made it virtually impossible to get away until the course turned and the climbing began in earnest. That was when Toyota Specialized attacked. Within minutes, Annika Langval and Sofia Gomez-Villafan had established a lead of a handful of seconds. Powering up the climb to the Queen of the Mountain hotspot, they built it to minutes. Not even a puncture for Langval could derail their march to a dominant stage victory. Behind them, Vera Lossa and Alexis Skada were second on the trails, while Rosa van Doorn and Janine Wurst were third, having recovered from that early puncture. By the finish line, Toyota Specialized had added 5 minutes 42 to their general classification lead. Efficient Infinity SCB SRAM was second and Buff Megamo third. Heading into stage 2, Langval and Gomez-Villafan held a 6 minute and 58 second lead over Lossa and Skada. Van Doorn and Wurst were 12:58 back. Third to fifth was separated by just under 2 minutes. Stage 2 presented the teams with the challenge of a 66-kilometre time trial. The longest race against the clock in the history of the Absa Cape Epic and the first point-to-point time trial. Starting in Mirandal, the route looped around the lower slopes of the Dorsberg and then dropped onto the plateau of fallow wheat fields for the trek east towards Paarl. A brief flirtation with the mountain trails provided a taste of what's to come on stages 3 and 4 before a descent to the Fairview race village. The UCI men were the first starters in the stage 2 time trial. Starting in reverse general classification order, 2016 Olympic road race gold medalist Greg van Avermaet was amongst the early starters.
Yesterday I was not quite awake at the start and it was quite fast, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Good weather, nice tracks, unbelievable actually compared to Belgium, so it's fun.
Long race, we have to try to pace it really well from the beginning and not to blow up already from the start. And then yeah, keep something left for the final because there it will be a bit harder. And yeah, let's see, it will be exciting today.
Hopefully we can hold on, keep this pace. I think it will be important to not blow up each other and have a decent result in the end.
Yeah, it's a long one, so pacing will be key. It's going to be a difficult task also with the heat. It feels already now quite warm, so in 2 hours will be pretty brutal. So yeah, we hope we get in a good rhythm and have some fast legs. Yeah.
Each of the UCI women's teams had a plan for the day, but time would tell if it would work out as intended.
Yeah, I think this is really just about a team effort. We just have to focus on the best effort that we can do, not be too worried about what everyone else is doing, and just put out a performance that we can be proud of.
Well, it's amazing to be in the African leaders jersey, but 66 kilometers on the mountain bike, just the two of us, will be tough. So I'm excited for it. I think it's a stage that could suit us, but we just need to be careful about not going out too hard.
Yesterday were a lot of emotions, so we really needed to calm down a bit in the evening, and yeah, now it's just have fun.
Luckily we can only be caught by one team, which is a good thing, and yeah, if you see a team coming ahead, it's definitely a carrot to chase, so we might get there. We're hoping for that.
We hope to see riders in front of us. That's the advantage of starting as a last team, is that you can easier control the race a little bit, because you can maybe get some visual contact to people in front of us. So that's our goal.
The first 40 UCI men's teams set off at 1-minute intervals, counted down and then called off the start ramp to aid their acceleration into the time trial effort. These early starters provided a handy guide through the time checks as to what may be considered a fast time. Valley Electrical Titan Racing's Rousseau Becker and Herman Faree were among those who the later starters could use as a barometer, though despite having just 2 days of racing in their legs, already the Absa Cape Epic's general classification standing is proving indicative of form. From the air, it was clear just how fast the teams were covering the ground. Despite a slight cross headwind, they were absolutely flying, exhibiting the full array of skills which sets the elite racers apart from the amateurs in the Absa Cape Epic. As one could expect, the fastest teams on the day were already the teams who had distinguished themselves on the prologue and stage 1. Baf Megamo's Wout Alleman and Martin Stosek started 12th from last, but were immediately at the top of the timesheets.
Today at least we felt a lot better, and I think we are on the way up. It's super nice to have this feeling. I was a little bit disappointed yesterday. But yeah, again, it shows that you never have to give up, and yeah, at least we work together now really well. I understand Martin a lot better than the first days, so yeah, it looks good for the next days.
A series of fast, if not table-topping teams followed the Belgian-Czechia combination onto the trails. But it was not until BH Coloma started posting times that Baf Megamos was challenged. David Valero Serrano and Tiago Ferreira had been solid, if not spectacular, thus far in the race, but they turned it up for the time trial. At the 22.5 kilometre mark, they were 4 seconds faster than Alleman and Stosek. Orbea Liat Speed Company were 10 seconds quicker than the Baf Megamo team over the first third. Egger might have struggled to close out stage 1, but his initial pace was phenomenal the day before and again on the stage 2 time trial. The course also suited the big Germans, and they charged through the undulating early kilometres and onto the open gravel roads, where their teamwork, aerodynamics and watts could truly come to the fore. Imbuko Chemchamp and outright Toyota Songo started more cautiously. Both the Absa African jersey leaders and defending champ had posted times 1 minute slower than the mark to beat. Yet, with 44 kilometres to race, that was not a disaster. Though Beers in particular would have liked to have been going faster.
Did what we could. Keegan's still not firing too well, so it's a little bit concerning, but I mean, there's nothing we can do at this point, you know. We just have to, I did what I could, like obviously I sat in the front the whole way and I tried to really let it open on where I could, and I think we brought back quite a bit of time, but yeah, hopefully it's good enough for it to jump up a little bit.
The penultimate team off the line were the Willia Vittoria squad. Braido and Avendetto attacked the course like it was a two-up cross-country short-track event and flew through the early time checks 11 seconds quicker than Alleman and Stosek. They clearly thought it would be possible to regain yellow of Schurter and Colombo with a stage-winning ride. Scott's Ram started last and set off like men on a mission. Having missed out on victory on the prologue, they were clearly not taking any chances by riding conservatively. Knowing that the Italians would be setting blistering times ahead, they powered through the trails and onto the gravel roads towards Powell Mountain. Ahead, the finish line was not visible, but the mountain it was nestled under was. And through 22.5 kilometres, Schurter and Colombo were the fastest pairing on the race to the Massif. The midweek time trial has at times in the Absa Cape Epic been somewhat of a rest day for the amateurs. At 66 kilometres long, this was never going to be the case in the 2025 race. For the UCI women, it was, if anything, a harder day out than a mass start stage. As a result, the teams approached it with caution. None more so than the Eford Chemchamp team. Margot Muschietti and Samara Shepherd had enjoyed a storming prologue ride, but then struggled on stage 1 and plunged from second on the general classification to 6th. The time trial appeared, on paper, the perfect remedy to their ills, as they would be able to manage their efforts and pace themselves back into the race. This was sadly theoretical rather than practical. The French champion appeared to be struggling in the rising heat, though she never shirked to turn on the front. It did, however, mean that Muschietti and Shepherd could not push as hard as they would have liked. And for the second day in a row, they lost time, finishing 8th on the day and ceding another position on the overall standings. After 3 days, they found themselves in 7th. A team who moved in the other direction on stage 2 were Titan Racing SE Honeycomb, much to Bianca Hoare's delight.
Yeah, I think we were quite consistent on the tar road. We caught like big bunches of girls, which was quite motivating until the Cannondale chicks came past us. Then it was a bit of like try keep as close as possible to them. Pity we couldn't sit the wheel, because that would have been nice. The headwind was quite hectic. Went through a bit of a low when we ran out of water. I think we underestimated the heats and the wind. Were thirsty out there. And then our team guys only gave me a bottle like this big. I was like, give me another one, please. So yeah, but it was cool. Good day.
The good day ensured that Hoare and Hayley Preen moved up to 4th. Their time trial nemesis were Monica Calderon and Tessa Corticas.
Well, we didn't really have a plan, as you never know in such a long stage race how the legs are or how your body's feeling, how the legs are. Yesterday we had a tough day. My strongest point is time trial, or at least like flat roads and just pushing the power. So yeah, I had a good day out there. Monica on my wheel, doing the best she could, and it was more than enough.
After a podium on stage 1, the expectation was that Buff Megamo would push on and firm up their standings on stage 2. That was not to be, however, as Rosa van Doorn and Janine Verst were just a fraction off their best all stage. The Dutch-Swiss pairing never established a rhythm at full speed and lost seconds to their rivals, to the point that those who started after them were reeling them in. The efficient Infinity SCB SRAM team were one of 2 teams who would pass Buff Megamo, as Loss and Skada put in good rides.
It was definitely a really long time trial, as to be expected. Those road sections felt very long in the middle. I feel like we had a really strong start and a strong finish though, so I think I felt like I was kind of pushing the pace maybe in the beginning, and then Vera was pushing the pace at the end, and so I thought we did a good job together.
We had a rough patch in the middle. I was struggling in the headwind, and it's just tar road and open roads and a little slide, little uphill. It's just brutally hard, and you can never really rest because there's never a downer.
The toughness of the course suited the women in the orange Giavita jerseys. Gomez, Viefan and Langfeld did not have it all their own way, however. Even Toyota Specialized had a rough patch.
Time trialing is difficult. That being said, I mean, we were in the best position today because we were starting last. So hopefully we could kind of, see some of the teams ahead of us and use that a little bit as a carrot. And so we did. So we wanted to go efficient. Definitely the heat today played a massive role. We were going well, and we saw the teams, we caught a few teams, and then as we did, the heat just kicked in massively, and we actually paid the price heavily. So we had to limit the damage that we caused on ourselves. Try to recover a little bit because it was so hot out there. And then kind of get going again. I'm really happy that we actually managed to take the stage win because it was a little bit mentally, it was a bit hard. We caught some teams, passed them, then they came back again.
Yeah, that's the best position to start because you kind of know if you're past a team, you know exactly how much time you're ahead. But yeah, the one thing is you can get a little too excited, which I think we kind of did once we started to pass a lot of teams. So I kind of died for a couple kilometers in there, but then kind of was able to turn it around near the end, and we still extended by over 2 minutes, so that's always a good day.
Gomez-Viefan and Langville's good day was underlined by their passing of both efficient Infinity SCV Schramm and Buff Megamo. Lawson Skada also caught and passed Van Duren Wurst, though the time it took for the faster team to edge up to and pass the slower moving squad shows how narrow the margins are in the UCI women's field. Once the teams were in the same space on the trails, they appeared to match each other's speeds as pacing became more race-like. Having a character chase is psychologically easier for many people than the self-regulated effort of a purely solo ride. Langville and Gomez-Viefan are better at gauging their efforts than most and won the stage by 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Cannondale ISP Sports Calderon and Corticas were second after a powerhouse performance. Lawson and Skada were third on the day, just 15 seconds off the women in second, and as such maintained their general classification position. For the third day in a row, Langville and Gomez-Viefan topped the podium. They were joined for the first time by Calderon and Corticas. Behind the big favourites, the day saw both Titan Racing SC Honeycomb and Torpedo Kende FSA having their best days at the race thus far. 3 from 3 meant fresh orange Chivita jerseys for Toyota Specialized. Buff Megamo's difficult day saw them slip from 3rd to 5th on the general classification. Cannondale ISP Sport moved up to 3rd as a result. Horn Preen jumped to 4th. The long time trial presented an opportunity for technical innovations. Faster tyres, satellite shifters, bigger chain rings, and every possible legal aerodynamic adaptation. Some of the riders were happy to share their secrets, others were slightly more cagey.
Yeah, it's a unique one. We've never had a TT so early on, so yeah, it'll be interesting, and it's super long as well, so yeah, it's going to be really crucial to pace it.
My setup is the same as the previous days. The only thing I think I'll change is having my hand more aero than anything else. But no, we're running the same setup with grid tyres as well. It was pretty rocky out there. We got one flat yesterday, and I think everyone's getting caught out with the thorns and the rocks. So playing it safe today and just aiming for a smooth ride.
I think we are quite good on our setup. It's quite fast already. We keep it safe also. I think that's also quite important in the Cape, that you don't have too many mechanical problems, otherwise you lose everything. So we will see where they end up. We have a pretty big chain ring in the front already, so we will see how we can support each other and how to keep the space high, and especially get low a little bit, like position-wise is quite important, I think. And yeah, I'm quite excited. For me, it's the first time experience also to do something like this, so it's quite cool to get a little bit out of the comfort zone.
The changes I made, I'm wearing an Aero helmet and I have a 34 tooth chain ring on instead of the 32, so just good. Trying to get a little more power today. We keep an eye on our power, I think, a lot, especially in the flatter areas, and switch off and keep it even, and really, yeah, make sure we're not going too fast in the beginning.
Today we're in a red jersey, red helmet, so yeah, red air helmets. Today's TT is going to be fast out there, but yeah, I also went for a bit faster tires, so yeah, I don't think you can do much out there. There's still a lot of single track out there, and you still need some grip and around the corners, because it doesn't help you lose 2-3 seconds around every corner, but yeah.
I mean, we changed quite a bit. We know it's going to be quite flat, so yeah, we put at 40 chain ring, yeah, slicker tire, and yeah, everything what's possible to be a little bit more aero.
We just went up to a 34 like we did in the prologue. Normally in the stages we run a 32 tooth up front, but since a little bit flatter, less climbing, we went for a harder gear.
Expect it to be super fast, and on those high speed sections where you go somewhere between 35 and 45, the bigger chain ring comes into play and gives you more efficiency in the drivetrain.
Once the climbing began in the final 15 kilometers of the time trial, Obeah Speed Company's formation began to falter. Egger's absolute peak power output is still formidable, but in current form there seems to be a limit as to how long he can maintain it for. On stage 2, once he started to fade, Baum had to slow to ensure they could still finish strong. Once again, the German teams of a low power were still good enough for a strong finish. They crossed the line in 2 hours, 14 minutes and 50 seconds, the 5th fastest time of the day. BH Colombo, Serrano and Ferreira held their position as 4th fastest between the 22-kilometer time check and the finish line. The result was by far their best of the week, and it gained them 2 places on the general classification. Willia Vittoria were next on the timesheets. Over the latter stages of the course, Brido and Avendetto slowed just ever so slightly, but still they put in a 3rd stellar performance in a row. The cross-country specialists were increasingly showing themselves to be far more than just a prologue flash in the pan. Their 3rd place on the day maintained their spot in 2nd on the overall standings and only saw them lose 33 seconds to Schurter and Colombo. The Swiss pair maintained their speed through the closing phases, and though they came up short in search of a stage victory, they were happy. The Scotch-Ram MTB team's efforts were good enough for silver on the day, but they did extend their general classification advantage over their nearest rivals. Only Buff Megamo beat the men in yellow. Aleman and Stosek tore through the final kilometres of the time trial, having paced their efforts to perfection. This handed them the win by 27 seconds after a difficult opening 2 days of racing.
It became already a bit hot in the last half hour, so yeah, it's quite a hard time trial. It's something special, but I enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good day for us. I think Wessel also felt a little bit better today. I try to save him as much as possible because of the long marathon stages coming up. But yeah, I mean, Wessel made a big step up from yesterday, and I'm very proud of him. And yeah, I look forward to the epic now, especially seeing that he's making a comeback.
Yeah, I got to give a big shout out to Tristan. My legs, I definitely felt yesterday's effort a bit, but yeah, we just kept the effort going, and yeah, it's the speed up. It was a hard stage.
Buff Megamo's fortunes turned in the best possible fashion by standing atop the Stage 2 podium. Scott Stram and Willia Vittoria both made their 3rd trips to the podium. Aleman and Stosek's winning margin was 27 seconds. Schurter and Colombo were 33 seconds quicker than Brido and Avendetto, and 1:45 faster than Obeah Speed Company. Scott Stram thus received another set of Ciavita yellow jerseys. Their general classification lead grew to 44 seconds over Willia Vittoria. Hubert and Nokia were the first Absa African team on the timesheets in 6th, extending their run in the red jerseys. Stage 3 is the first of 2 days on the Paarl Mountain and on the town's vast network of trails. The day's route was updated due to extreme heat, as the mercury was predicted to reach over 40 degrees centigrade. The redesigned route would be 78 rather than 90 kilometers long, with the climbing reduced from 2,600 to a still imposing 2,450 meters of accumulated elevation gain.